recording. Hi there, my name is David Batsoffen and I host a travel blog called Travel and Things. At the moment, I'm doing a TV series called In Conversation With, and my guest this evening is the CEO of the African Snakebite Institute. That's Johan Marais. Johan, thanks so much for joining me this evening.
It's my pleasure, David.
Now, today is, or was, Snake Awareness Day. Now, what was that all about? And is this international or is it specific to South Africa?
No, it's very much international. And I think it's an opportunity for a lot of people involved with snakes worldwide just to voice their views, get a bit of exposure, speak about what they're passionate about. And so I've been on quite a few interviews already, and I've got a few more to come. And one of them that we're doing later is we've got 5 guys from different continents talking specifically about snake bites. We've got guys from Australia and Europe and the USA, and we're sort of looking at the problems of snake bite, the potential solutions, and that it really is problematic because worldwide we have about 100,000 snake bite deaths a year.
Really,
so it really is a big issue.
Many.
Yeah. That's a major problem.
Dealing with snakes, it is Snake Awareness Day, but it's also the dead of winter. So are you able to conduct classes around snake handling? Do snakes become difficult to deal with in the winter months?
Not really, because our snakes are heated. So we have a large selection of snakes that we use for training. Yep. And when we take them to courses, they're heated, so they're pretty active.
Okay, because I had visions of you sort of dragging them out of a box or something and then going, no, really, it's freezing cold. We don't want to be here. Why?
Even, during the courses now, even when we keep them sort of heated, they are a little bit more sluggish than usual because the ambient temperatures are quite low. Right. Ideally, a snake wants to be around, 27 to 30 degrees, and then it's super active.
Okay. Why is it that humans are so terrified? If you ask 10 people what their biggest fear is, I believe that 6 would say snakes and 4 would say spiders. And where does this hark back to?
It's quite interesting. There's been a lot of research done on that. And what they have found is that a lot of the fear of snakes is genetic. We've sort of, it's passed on in your genes, and you just have this inherent fear of snakes. But the other thing is that we are hardwired to easily gain advice from other people and fear snakes. So what I'm trying to say is that it's going to be quite easy to influence kids to make them scared of snakes, right? But it's not that easy to make them scared of eating the wrong mushroom. Snakes really are one of those things, and it's an enormous fear. We have people that book in our course, a snake awareness course, and they will drive halfway to the course and phone me and say, sorry, I can't do it, and they make a U-turn, and the next time they drive 3/4 of the way and then they make a U-turn, and eventually we get them on the course, and once they've done it, they're far more relaxed because a lot of it is just a lack of knowledge.
Yeah, I should imagine so. A question that I've sort of been asking all my guests on these In Conversation chats with is, take me back to Johan in matric. What did you want to do, or did you already know in matric that this was going to be your career and your calling?
Gosh, I didn't know until a few years back what I really wanted to do. So I started with snakes at a very young age. I grew up in Durban. We spent quite a bit of time on family farms in places like Kuruman, Grootvlei, Ermelo. And from a very young age, I saw people killing snakes. Everyone kills snakes. My uncles killed snakes. The snake was sighted. The shotgun came out and they killed it. And I sort of became interested in them. I caught one. I kept one or two. And then as the years progressed, I had a massive collection of captive snakes in my room. At the age of 15, 16, I had a 1.5 meter crocodile in the garden called Gabriel. So the whole reptile thing has come a long way. And initially I didn't quite know that I'd be working with them one day. But throughout my various careers, they were always in the background.
Okay,
and
So you've
Go
done
ahead,
other
Ed.
stuff along the way.
Oh, heck yes, I've done a million things. From a drug squad cop, farming crocodiles for 8 years. I owned over 50 retail shops selling books, lingerie, ladies accessories, publishing. But now I'm with the snakes, yes.
Talking about books, I know that you've got a book close at hand. So tell us about that particular one.
Well, I think my first book I wrote when I was about 23 called Snake versus Man.
Okay.
And that did really well. I've done about a dozen. I'm busy with 2 or 3 very exciting ones at the moment. So this is my biggest seller, The Complete Guide to Snakes of Southern Africa. And in South Africa, if you write a book and you sell about 3,000 copies, they call it a bestseller.
I was about to say 3,000 copies is unbelievably good for South Africa.
Yeah. So this book, we're pretty close to 100,000 sales now.
Wow. Is that published by Strake?
It's published by Strake, a phenomenal publisher. I have a wonderful relationship with them, and all my books are done through them.
Yeah,
so I'm busy with a major
great imprint.
Oh, they're fantastic. I'm busy with a major revision of this one at the moment because it's about 14 years old now. And then with my colleague Luke Kemp, we're also busy with a field guide to the reptiles and amphibians of Southern Africa. So we're going to have about 670 species in one book.
How many snake species are there in Southern Africa?
In Southern Africa, we're looking at about 175, 176. Last week, 3 new species were described.
You're kidding?
Yeah, so this happens all the time. Every year we have 1 or 2 or 3 new snakes described.
It must be rather strange when people come to you and say, look, here's a picture of a snake that I've just seen. And you go, hang on, I've never seen something like that. Did you Photoshop this? Have you mixed and matched colors or something? Or do you get really excited and go, where, how, can I come? Did you keep it? You know, is it still alive?
Yeah, it doesn't really happen nowadays that we're shown a photograph that we can't recognize. You know, if it's a clear photograph, we know what it is.
Yeah.
So a lot of these are splits. So the new species that were described last week are all within the brown house snake family.
Okay.
And some of the splits we were aware of, and these are ones coming down from Angola into northern Namibia. So the differences are very, very technical. The one has only 3 scales that touch the eye, and the other one has 2, or the one has so many belly scales and the other one doesn't. So they're very technical differences. But obviously in a book, we have to show the different ones and where they occur.
Johan, at the moment, I don't know if it's still on TV, but it was relatively recently. There was a British couple that came to South Africa to catch snakes and make a TV series.
Yes.
Was that a good thing or a bad thing?
That's a tough question because obviously, if you want viewers in a TV show, the more sensational you make it, the better it gets. And Steve Irwin was the master at that. So we didn't particularly like a lot of the stuff that he was doing, but at the same time, you have to give these people credit that they do create a lot of awareness.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of awareness. The kids love it. I'd rather have them watching something that they love about snakes than disliking them. I think where a lot of these programs fall down is factually, they're usually not that great.
Yeah. Well, they're assuming that the people who are watching are not experts, and they're merely watching it for the reality aspect of the program. And,
Correct.
you know, running up and down and, oh, look, there's a snake under a piece of wood. And, you know, we've got 15 minutes left of the show. Let's drag this out. Whereas they could have caught it in about 1:30 type of thing. Yeah,
so we, with a lot of the research that we do, the work we do on snakes, there's absolutely no drama. I'm catching a black mamba. If I had a black mamba in a house and I see the snake, it usually takes about 14 seconds before it's put away and it's all gone and it's all done. There's no screaming and shouting. There's no drama. That doesn't sell on television.
No, unfortunately not. So what does the African Snakebite Institute actually do?
Well, we have quite a few functions. I think our main business is providing training. So we provide snake awareness courses to the members of the public, and a strong component of that is first aid for snakebite and the medical treatment. There's a lot of confusion around that, so we give the latest and the best information. But then what we also do is we provide venomous snake handling courses. And initially, we teach people how to use the right equipment to safely deal with a venomous snake. So none of the sort of grabbing it by the tail, but all that sort of jazz.
Yeah.
So these courses we give to the public, but our main clients are corporate. So we have a lot of mines, waterworks, construction companies. I work in about 19 African countries. Doing this training on sites. I spend time with their paramedics, with their medical teams, their doctors. We look at evacuation protocols. So that's sort of, in essence, the major income part of the business. We also are the biggest suppliers of snake handling equipment, and we manufacture and we supply the whole of Africa. So from tongs to hooks and snake gaiters and face protection, special gloves to deal with snakes. Then we have quite a strong social responsibility aspect to our business. So for instance, I provide free training to medical doctors in the use of antivenom. And last year we had over 600 medical doctors through our program.
Wow, okay. That's impressive.
We have over 200 free posters that people can download from our website, free, cost them nothing. Snakes of the dangerous snakes of Johannesburg, Cape Town, Kruger Park, the Lowveld, that type of thing. We've developed an app that has just hit 100,000 downloads this week. It's
wonderful.
called ASI Snakes.
In fact, I think I've got it on my phone.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And the nicest part of the app is that it's free. Costs you nothing.
That's always a good thing.
Yes. And some of the features on the app, we've got first aid treatment for snake bite. We have local snakes. If you're in Kuruman and you see a snake in your garden, you press on local snakes and it lists the snakes in that area. We have easy snake ID. So if you see a snake, with your app, you can photograph it. The picture comes through to us and we identify it for you.
Okay.
And what we are finding now is medical doctors are using it. We have close on 600 people that do snake removal countrywide. So if you're in Stanger and you have a snake in your house, you press on snake removal and it says to you that Harry is 3.7 kilometers away. And if you press on his number, his phone rings.
It's like an Uber for snakes, Johan.
Absolutely. We have hospitals countrywide. If you have a medical emergency, you press on hospitals and your app navigates you to the nearest hospital.
Well, that's always a good thing because people tend to leap up and down and scream, and time, I know, is of the essence when it comes to snake bites. But you hit on an important point, and I know that I've caught field guides out with this, when they start talking about poisonous snakes. And then I sort of just go, and I say, no, we mean venomous. I go, for sure you mean venomous. Poison has to be ingested.
Yes. Some mushrooms are poisonous.
Yeah, mushrooms are not venomous because they don't bite you.
Snakes are venomous, exactly. Although I'm not sure what an acacia is because I've been damaged by quite a few acacias in the past.
Yeah, true that. Do you have a top 5 dangerous list that people should be aware of and how to deal with those?
Yeah, actually, it's probably about top 4. So if we look at the most snake bites in South Africa, the Mozambique spitting cobra accounts for the majority of them. And they are problematic because they do accidentally go into houses and they do bite people while they're asleep in their beds.
Oh, okay.
So that is a major problem. So what we recommend to people in rural areas is if you can put mosquito doors on your houses. If you're sleeping in a hut, try and sleep under a mosquito net. Tuck it in nicely. You eliminate the chances of a Mozambique spitting cobra bite.
Okay.
Followed by that is puff-adder bites, mainly at night when people accidentally stand on them while they're in the move. Night-adder bites, people standing on them. And then we have a little darkish snake called a stiletto snake.
Never even heard of it.
Well, it's a very, very important snake because they're small, they're brown, they look harmless, they live underground, they come to the surface on hot summer's nights. And they have this bizarre arrangement that they have fangs that can protrude without them opening their mouth. So if you grab one behind the head, as a lot of people like to do, the snake just goes like this and a fang gets you. So we have dozens and dozens of people rescuing these snakes out of their swimming pools, picking them up with their hands behind the head, and they end up in hospital. So those are the major problem snakes.
Yeah.
The highly dangerous, the most dangerous ones, obviously, and where we see our fatalities, black mamba and Cape cobra.
Yeah.
And they are problematic because they have a neurotoxic venom that affects breathing.
Okay.
So that people must bear in mind.
So how do you, firstly, how do you tell the difference between you said a stiletto was a little brown snake that lived underground. How do you tell the difference between that and a brown house snake?
It's very easy. You pick it up and you'll know instantly. It's a major problem because you cannot easily tell them apart.
Okay.
So people should not touch snakes.
Okay, so that's
they should
rule
not
number
grab them
one.
by the tail.
Yeah.
They should not grab them by the head. If you have a snake, if you have a problem, go to the app, get a snake remover, and let someone come and deal with it that knows what they're doing.
Are all those snake removal guys, do they arrive in like Ford F-250s and they're covered in tattoos with like Bob the Snake Hunter on the door type of thing? Or do they arrive
A fair number of them, yes.
Yeah. I think it's
A fair
almost a
number of them do.
prerequisite, Johan.
Yeah, sort of. You know, snakes do attract a lot of weirdos. So you often get ladies with pink hair and, you know,
Yeah.
a bit of body piercing. That's part of the deal.
Okay, so it's
But they do a wonderful job.
Both men and women do this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Now, going forward with Snake Awareness Day, what would you like? I mean, people can't, it's not like saying it's Elephant Awareness Day, go to the bush and go and see an elephant, because the chances of seeing a snake in the bush, from what I can gather, and the amount of time I've spent in the bush, is negligible, because they don't tend to sort of wander down the road like a rhino or lie under a tree like a lion having a nap type of thing.
That's absolutely true. So your chances of seeing snakes in the wild, unless you have phenomenal knowledge about snakes and you understand their habits, you know where to look, it's all purely by accident. You know, you're sitting around a braai and somewhere in the low veld and a tiger snake drops out of a tree, or you walking on a hike and you're in the berg and suddenly you hear a bird huffing and puffing away. But I think as far as Snake Awareness Day goes, I think a very important message to people is, in any snake encounter, in any situation, whether it's indoors or outdoors, all people need to do is immediately retreat 5 paces, just 5 paces.
Okay.
And if you're 5 paces away, you cannot get bitten. You're absolutely, totally safe.
So is it not true that mambas, if you're cycling down the road, will chase after you to try and bite your tires so that you will fall off and they can bite you?
Absolutely not. So to give you an idea, we did a survey in Zululand. Now, Zululand is one of our major snake bite areas.
Right.
So most of our snake bites we get in Zululand. And we did a 5-year survey, and we analyzed 879 snake bites in Zululand over those 5 years. And 5 of those bites over 5 years were black mamba bites.
Really?
1 bite a year. It's not an aggressive snake.
It is. It doesn't sound like it. I mean, the 2 instances where I've come into contact with snakes, and both of them have been in snake parks. The one was a king cobra at the old Transvaal Snake Park, which was out at Midrand. And my daughter
imported that snake.
Okay, so then you know the one I'm talking about. My daughter ended up standing at the glass, and this thing reared up in front of her, and she was probably 3 foot, maybe a little taller at the time, and that thing looked her in the eye. Somewhere I had an image, I don't have it anymore. And the other one was in the Port Elizabeth Snake Park. And what they used to do is once a month when they fed the snakes, they would allow people to come in and you could watch if you could stomach the sight of mice being eaten and that type of thing. And they just brought in a pair of king cobra and they released the male. And I was standing and taking photographs. There was no sun, there was no paper over the glass. So I was doing nothing illegal there, and he'd come straight at me and slammed into the glass. And they then put the female in, and he turned and bit and killed her instantaneously. And then the head of the park comes and shouts at me, and I go, well, if you'd asked me to move, I would have. All I'm doing here is taking pictures. The fact that your snake doesn't like his intended bride, that's got nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
But there, you know, you talk also about kids. There was what they did was they put the mice in and then they walk around and then they just take them out if they're still alive. And there was one mouse that had almost survived, and it was a little boy with his mom standing in front of it. And he was rooting for the mouse. He really and truly was. And he's sort of going, come on, mouse, you can do this. And the last image that he and I have was the mouse disappearing down the snake's mouth. Because as they opened the door to the cage, the snake got the mouse. And the little fellow didn't cry. He was rather sort of stoic about the whole thing, but I thought he'd handled it quite well for a youngster watching what could have been his first kill, for want of a better term.
Sort of a typical Blue Bulls reaction.
I'm not going down that road, Johan. I'm not. I worked with a certain singer who was a Blue Bull supporter for 11 years. I cannot say anything about them. I'm sorry. The court interdict is still out there. Johan, if somebody is bitten, you know, there's the old adage, you can suck the poison out and all that type of thing. Firstly, does that work? And if not, what do people need to do, both in a situation where they can get somebody immediate help, and maybe you get bitten somewhere where you've got the nearest hospital maybe 3 hours away? What do you do then?
Okay, so I think in the first place, first aid in snakebite can become a little bit technical. Yeah. And if people really want far more details on all the do's and don'ts, download the app. It's all in there. Okay. It's free. The app is called ASI Snakes. It's easy to find. Works on Apple and on Android. I think the most important first aid measure with any snake bite, in 95% of cases, is do absolutely nothing and get the person to the nearest hospital.
Okay.
Nothing else. Sucking and cutting doesn't work. Most of the things don't work, you know. But if you, so 9 out of 10 snake bites are cytotoxic venoms. So that'll be the snakes I mentioned, spitting cobra, puff adder, stiletto snake, night adder. There's nothing you can do in those bites. Nothing. You go to hospital and the doctors need to sort it out. Your problems are your neurotoxic snakes like your black mamba and your Cape cobra, where in a relatively short period of time, the venom can affect your breathing. And when your breathing's gone, you're in big trouble. You're going to die pretty soon after that. So again, it's very important to get to a hospital very quickly. If you want to start looking at other first aid measures for such bites like pressure immobilization, the use of pocket masks, mouth to mouth, it becomes a bit technical and we won't be able to cover that now. Get the app, you can read all about it.
Okay.
But in most cases, you have a snake bite, you get to a hospital. If you're far from a hospital, you can meet an ambulance halfway. They have paramedics on board. Mm. So if you're on a farm and you're like an hour away or 2 hours away from a hospital, make sure you have the phone number of a reliable private ambulance service. You have an emergency, you meet them halfway.
Okay. And I'm assuming that you want the patient kept calm. You don't want them running around in circles, exacerbating the flow of the venom through their blood.
Yeah, initially, most of the spread of venom is through the lymphatics. And the lymphatics are stimulated by muscle movement. So yes, you're quite right. You want to keep them calm, you get them to a hospital. And, you know, the study that I mentioned earlier on with the 879 bites, not one of those patients in those 5 years died. Every single patient survived. But they got to hospital.
Well, which is a good thing. But then you see, you also get those people who want to climb into a tank or into a cage with, I don't know, X number of snakes to prove a point or to raise money for a charity. And I've always said, you know, we're tough here in Africa. We don't have to climb into snake pits or crocodile enclosures. All we've got to do is walk down Commissioner Street with gold jewelry around our neck and see how far down Commissioner Street we can actually get on a Saturday night.
Yeah. Or Midtown Pretoria, it's the same.
It's exactly the same. So why do people do it? You know, climb into a sleeping bag and they wake up in the morning and then 4 puff adders sleeping on their chest. And then when they get bitten, then they go, oh, we never expected that.
Yeah, the snakes, the so-called snake sitins, have fortunately come to an end.
Okay.
And most of those sitins are a total con. Very few of them slept with the snakes. Very few of the so-called bites you heard of really happened. There's never been a world record. It's all just marketing and very, very good marketing.
Smoke and mirrors. I have to ask you.
Smoke and mirrors.
I have to ask you because you alluded to him and then we sort of left him alone. Whatever happened to Gabriel?
So Gabriel got bigger and bigger. He wasn't in an enclosure in the garden. I had permits for him. Mm-hmm. But one day, one of my brother's friends said to my brother that he could actually catch this crocodile. And my brother said, no, I don't think so. There was a bit of alcohol involved. And he ended up in Addington Hospital getting stitched up afterwards. And then the old Natal Parks board said, no. Having a crocodile in suburban Durban, this isn't going to work. So it went up to St. Lucia and was released there.
And it sounds like one of those Reader's Digest stories. And we took Gabriel to St. Lucia. He was released and we never saw him again.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately for Gabriel, because sometimes you need permits for people like your brother's mate.
Yes.
Because they tend to do stupid things like that. And then again, and then they wonder, why they got bitten, because that's what crocodiles do.
Natural selection.
Well, this is it. That's why there's a Darwin Award.
Yes, exactly.
Johan, you used to run courses out in Mulder's Drift. I think it's now called Cradle Moon.
Correct.
Are those still ongoing, and how do people sign up for those?
Yeah, we have Cradle Moon every month end. It's the venues on our app or on our website.
Right.
Very popular. We advise people to book well in advance. Every course is a sellout. So the courses are very popular. Cradle Moon is a fantastic facility, and it's actually quite nice to handle snakes under a tree with a zebra walking past and that type of thing. Yeah, we
or
really
a giraffe
enjoy it.
Trying to kick you in the head. But that's another story for another conversation with. How many people do you accommodate on these courses when you say they're full?
So the whole ASI team goes along. So now with the whole lockdown, everything, we are doing courses, but we do limit it to 50 people.
Okay.
So 50 is the maximum that we can handle. And the theory part, I do all the theory part of the course. And then when it comes to the handling, they divide them into small groups. So we have 3 or 4 or 5 different handlers that show the people the correct methods, the correct ways of dealing with venomous snakes. And we have excellent protocols, incredibly safe. And if you follow our protocols, no one's ever going to get bitten. No chance.
Great stuff. Johan, it's been a pleasure chatting to you on this Snake Awareness Day. This has been In Conversation With, and I have been in conversation with Johan Marais. Johan, just before I say goodbye, your website details for people who want to follow up on this?
Yeah, so they can go to africansnakebiteinstitute.com.
Right.
And if anyone has any difficulty in finding it, you just Google Johan Marais and I come up first. So it's easy to track me down.
Johan, great chatting to you. Thanks once again for your time.
My pleasure. We look forward to seeing you at a course.